1962 tube stock cab simulator that I've built using mechanical parts from car number 1678 and 1679. One of the updates I've done are both electrical and mechanical, so I'd like to now just take you through briefly what I've done with the simulator so far since you last saw it on YouTube. Well, some of you may or may not know that the 1962 tube stock, along with the 1938, 56 and 59 tube stock, was unique in that it had a two-man crew operation. It had a driver at the front, and at the back of the train you had a guard which opened and closed the doors and also was the second man in case of an emergency. And what you see here in our picture is the two original guards panels in original condition, which allowed the guard to open and close the doors on both sides of the train. And I've managed to paint and restore the number one panel from 1962 tube stock car 1678. So here it is. Right, so here is panel number one from car number 1678 from 1962 tube stock, rescued from the scrapyard along with the rest of the control equipment from that particular car, and repainted into near enough original condition as per the photo in the video. So now I'm going to show you briefly what works on the control panel, what I've wired up, what actually functions now. So I'll just go through that with you. Okay, so as mentioned, the 1962 stock was unique in the same way as the 1938, 56 and 59 stock, that both had all one thing in common. They had a two-man crew operation. And the 1962 stock was unique that it had a guard and a driver, like the stock previous mentioned. At the front of the train you had the driver, and at the rear you had the guard. The guard's job was to open and close the doors on either side of the train accordingly, and also to ensure that passengers left the train and entered the train safely without causing delay or injuries to themselves. So the role of the guard would be as follows. On the guard's panel itself here, you had a pilot light, indication light here, and then below that you had the guard's open and the guard's close button. Now, where the guard's panel was located on the train, there was a separate single leaf door on either side of each guard's panel, which allowed the guard to select open or close accordingly, to open his door uniquely from the rest of the doors on the train. So the rest of the train doors could be closed, and the guard could select his own personal door to be opened or closed. So the procedure would be as follows. When the train was normally standing at the platform, the guard would have his single leaf door open like that, and the pilot light wouldn't be illuminated because all the doors on the train will be opened. But once the guard pressed the passenger door close button, which is that button there, all the doors would be activated by a relay circuit which would close the doors gradually along the train. And once the doors were closed, then the guard would get a pilot light which would illuminate like so. This would then give a visual indication to the guard that all the doors on that particular side of the train would be closed. And the same would be on the opposite panel for the opposite side of the train doors. Once the doors were closed and the pilot light was illuminated, then the guard could send a signal to the driver to start the train by means of a signal bell switch, which would be this button here, like so. Single bell would ring inside the driver's cab. The driver would then realise all the doors were closed, the guard got his pilot light, you could start the train. The train would then move off. If for some reason during the running of the train the guard lost this pilot light and it went out, it didn't illuminate whilst the train was running, it obviously indicate there was a problem with the door circuit or possible fault with one of the doors. But normally in service this would always be lit up on the guard's panel whilst he was in position doing his job as a guard. When the guard had finished his duties, on the opposite panel, number 2 panel, there'd be an exact panel like this minus the driver to guard telephone unit, which is up here, and there'd be a control switch which the guard would put his key in and basically turn it to isolate and turn off the guard's controls at that end of the train. Then he'd walk down to the other end of the train and open up that end and do the exact same procedure. So that's basically how that works. So there's our single stroke bell, which is a 12 to 24 volt supply, which I got off eBay a couple of weeks ago, that I fitted up in position and wired up to the guard's signal bell, which you heard earlier on. The base I just made myself, but the actual bell itself came as a solid state unit, and I was quite impressed with that. Very good for the money. One of the most noticeable changes about the simulator is it really now has become a simulator. We've got our monitor. Ta-da! We've got our monitor in place in the cab window all fitted up, and the area around the window, as you can see, blacked out accordingly. So just to give you an idea of the typical driver's eye view, as best we can, I'll let the video speak for itself and give you an idea of what I've been doing.
On leaving White City, our eastbound train passes the abandoned platform of the subsequently revived Wood Lane station. Now we enter the main tube tunnel section of 10 miles to Stratford. Nowadays, drivers can see where they're going due to the provision of headlights. Before then, they used to operate totally in the dark. It's worth noting that this is an actual tube tunnel, as opposed to a tunnel built by cut-and-cover methods, much as on the District and Circle lines. The tube tunnels are 11 feet 8 inches in diameter, and were bored out of the ground by tunnelling machines. As we pass the site of a one-time crossover, we enter Shepherd's Bush, the original terminus of the Central London Railway, inaugurated in 1900, with a 5 3/4 mile line between here and Bank.
The other thing mechanically that I managed to get working as well, again using a 12 volt supply, in the master brake controller handle, which is in front of you in the camera here, shot here, down here, just move out of the way, target out of the way, inside there's a relay, a contact relay, and what I managed to do was find the wires for it and put a 12 volt feed through it, so that when we put our brake handle in the release position, there's a relay that drops out, and then when you put it in the holding position, it drops in. Also, the other thing that I did, as well as the electrical work, if you can see this on the camera or not, I'm not sure, but there was a space that was quite unsightly between the front of the driver's desk and the window, which I filled in and panelled out and painted accordingly, which runs along there, that bit of trim that I put in there, like so, which makes it a little bit more tidier, so there's no unsightly gap along the edge there. Anyway, that's what I've done so far. Hope you've enjoyed the video.